Hey guys, Faxi Nadu here, and welcome to day number 4 of our little 30 patches in 30 days video series. So today we're going to cheat a little bit. Instead of looking at one patch, we're actually looking at 3 patches, and we're not. The patches themselves don't specifically matter for what I want to show today. What I want to show is just more like a concept and a way of thinking. So always in modular, like we showed on the previous video, you kind of think automatically when you think modular, you think like funky stuff, right? You're thinking of like a comb filter and crazy little modulations you're gonna do, and all these crazy sounds and bleeps and blops and all this control that you're gonna have and all of that. But there's another side to it, you know. You don't have to use it in a sort of abstract, in a completely abstract way. You can use it more in to get like I don't want to say traditional workflow. I don't know exactly what the word it is that I'm looking for, but maybe I'll just show you what I mean, you know. So you can use it in a way that is, like I said, it's not as funky, you know, but it's still giving you a lot. You're still thinking outside of the box, but you're doing more streamlined things. So for this example of this kind of way of thinking, we have here 8 I/O patches. What it means basically is that instead of this modular shell, which has 2 inputs and 4 outputs, you get just the shell itself is a shell with 8 inputs and 8 outputs. And this actually is really cool for stuff like ADAT. If you have 8 channels, like on my ADAT, then 8 channels, and this is really cool. So why would this 8IO thing be cool for you? Over here you see this huge patch, and over here another one. And if you take a closer look, it's not really as complicated and as big as it seems. It's just redundant things. These are 8 channels that are basically the exact same. 8 signal chains that are the exact same. Um, and what this gives you is it lets you use the power of modular and some really interesting modules. For example, here you want that sound of the valve drive, for example, and the saturator, the compressors, stuff like that. You can use all sorts of stuff to build yourself channel strips that are cool for your music and for what you want to do at that moment. Let's say this one, okay? For example, if you're recording, I don't know, drums, and you want to, you have 8 microphones, for example, and you're doing a traditional drum recording, but you want to do something a little bit funky. So you could pass all these 8 mics from your ADAT or however you are recording into this thing, and each one is an identical channel strip, so you're not going too funky, you know? It's an identical strip, but each one has its own settings. And, you know, if you want something else, you can really easily just pull something out and add it into one of these or into all of these. And it's really quick synthesis. And I wanted to start with this one in particular because here there's no MIDI at all, right? You can't really make, there's no MIDI and there's no modulations either. This is a static patch. So again, unlike everything that I show and everything that I preach about being dynamic in your synthesis, you can also use modular for static things, and it's perfectly fine. There's a lot of power in using stuff like this. So in this one, let's go over quickly over this one, and then I'll show you some stuff that is a little bit more, makes a little bit more use of the MIDI functions and modulations and stuff like that. So again, this is 8 identical channel strips. We only need to look at one of them. And this is just something that I thought would be fun, you know, a 12 dB low shelf that I can take a little bit off the bottom of things. Compressor, myself, I like to use multiple compressors on stuff. So I'll often have something like this inside my DAW, you know. I'll set up a low shelf, and then I'll compress the peaks, and then I'll do whatever effects I want to do. In this case, it's drive and saturation. It could be either one, or it could be both of them. And then I have another compressor. I don't know if I could bypass this one. I could bypass this one. So you actually have the option of having pre-compression. You can bypass the EQ as well, which is really cool. Pre-compression and post-compression, either one of them, neither one of them, whatever you want. And then I don't even know why I stuck a multi-mode multi-effects filter after each channel. So this is really overkill because this is your multi-effect, right? But I just wanted to show, you know, you can, instead of having all these, you can delete everything and just put a multi-effect here, but then you won't have some of the modular modules. So this is just a little bit extra, and again, you can bypass it. And the thing with the putting the multi-effect at the end, I mean, you do have a gain here, but this is kind of going to be, if I put everything on active and the dry off, or even with the doesn't matter, the dry or the wet, I have a master fader for each channel. So this is one of them. Keep this one in mind because we'll go back to talking for a second about it. And then I want to show you the other ones that are a little bit more. Let's see which one I want to continue with because I kind of had a. Let's actually look at the other one. Let's look at this one first. So again, you see all these wires and tons of stuff going on, but everything is redundant. If you see, you know, for example, from this LFO, it's going just to every single one of these channels. So what we have here is something different. Here I showed functionality, right? This is just pure functionality. Where was that? Ah, God damn it. They all look the same outside. So, no, it's not even this one. It's this one. So here we show just pure function, right? It's just a pure signal flow going from one thing to another. And again, a static patch. And this is a more dynamic thing. And all we have here, let's take off the routing because we really don't need it. You know, it's just going from the audio input 1 through 8. Each one is the same. Going into a phaser, and then it's going out. That's it. That's all that's going on here. The rest of the patching is for. Why is it not showing my routing now? It's acting all buggy. What the fuck? Oh well. So the rest of the rest of the stuff that is going on here is each one of these. As you see, it's a phaser, and they have two modulation inputs. So each one of these has their own LFO, as well as a master LFO, right here. And everything again is gated and with a time division. Now again, remember these particular LFOs in scope, these ones that are receiving external frequency from the frequency dividers, the slowest they can go is 1 to 1. So just keep that in mind for the next one. So again, this is just a phaser. This is 8 phasers. Put this one aside, and let's look at the next one, the last one. So this one, ooh, I see already a mistake. This one's not connected. So again, 8 of the same. The wires are just, the big mess is just because everything is the same, and copy paste everything. And what we have here is just 8 low pass filters. Okay, just again the same thing. I'm kind of saying the same stuff over and over again. The only difference here is I wanted to show that we have a pattern LFO instead of the other LFO from the other patch, and the main difference is, other than that you can choose really cool patterns in here, is that it can go to a really long division. I've shown this before, so you can do, for example, 61, 64 bar or 16 bar, or whatever you want to do on the LFOs. And then there's a master LFO. This is the same thing I did in the other one. Doesn't matter which one we look at actually. So there's a master LFO because there's 2 inputs, you know, so you have the choice. On one hand, each one can be independent, but you have also an option that each one of the channels is going to be dependent on each other. It's going to sweep in the same way. So you have both of these options in these patches due to the 2 modulation inputs. So you can kind of get really creative. And again, these ones, why am I opening? Okay, I'm opening the same one again and again. So in the first patch, we had no MIDI, okay, again. But here, we do have MIDI, and we can, but we don't have to use it, you know. We have, like, for example, for the filters, we have note key follow, and we can gate the LFOs. We don't have to gate the LFOs, but it's there. But just remember, this is an FX patch, so whatever you're sending as far as MIDI, remember we're not using frequency, obviously, but we are using note. So you can use notes if you want to affect the key follows. So I've shown you these 3, and again, you're thinking probably already in your mind, you can build your own ones, and for specifically looking at this one, right, at the like a real channel strip, you can build your own channel strips using all this cool stuff. Now, where does this get really cool? Let's say you have a ton of these. Let's say you've built various ones. Like, you could say this is really silly, right? Why would I want to build, like, take the time to build this whole, you know, copy paste everything and have all these cables and everything? Why do I need to do that if I can just, you know, I need just one phaser for one channel? Now, obviously, yeah, you're right about that. But where it gets cool is if you have many different of these saved. Okay, you've made one that is a phaser, you've made one that is a filter, you've made really cool different things, and it gets cool when you can pull these out of your whatever folder that you have it all saved and start chaining them. Okay, then this is where it gets interesting. You don't even have to use all 8 IOs. Let's say you have just 2 or 3 sounds, but just the option, you know, it's 8. Think of it as a mixer with integrated effects. So you save a lot of these, and you have different mixers in your folders, and each mixer provides up to 8 integrated effects. Remember, this is mono, okay? And this is really cool. So over here, for example, we would have a chain for each channel of the low pass, and then we would have, I just randomly connected it to show, right? And then we would have the channel strip, and then it would go into a phaser. And we can get really crazy, and we can just take the channel strip and put it again afterwards. You can make these really, really huge chains. And you can also save projects. You can save this whole chain, right? Make like a really cool chain of a few of them. And once you start, you start to kind of mix and match them, and you like all these. You get this little thing going with them. I think it's really, really creative, and it's really great if you're using external synths. You can set up mixers. It's basically setting up a mixer the way you want it to be set up, right? Whether it be effects or whether it be mixing tools, like in this one. So I don't really have an example right now for this patch. I don't know really if an example will kind of even accomplish anything, because this is really an individual type of thing. You don't need to just, you know, plainly hear an effect, because I didn't do anything that is my synthesis here. I've just chained all these things. I really implore you to try it out, especially if you are working with like eight like a drum kit would be like really a cool thing. You don't even need a real drum kit. If you have a drum machine that's outputting 8 outputs, try making yourself a few of these. You can download mine as well, and chain them, and the results are gonna be worth it. You'll see. So see you on our other videos. Tomorrow is day number 5.